Hi, this is Matt Donegan at Business Spotlight. I'm here with Holly Small of Holly Small Design. Hi, Holly. How are you? How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. All the better for speaking to you. Holly, tell me something. How long has Holly Small Design been going?
So I started it in January 2000, so 24 years now.
24 years. So presumably you've been through some fairly epic times. You what, at least three financial shocks that the business has been
Yeah,
going through?
yeah. The first one was 9/11, which was about a year or so after I started the business. And then obviously a couple of financial crunches
Yeah.
and COVID. So yeah, seen some very different times.
Certainly have. So 24 years is admirable in any industry. You specialize in design. Can you tell me what kind of design you specialize in and what type of customers?
Yeah. So when I started my business, only 5% of companies have websites. So I started in traditional graphic design, logos, branding, brochure work, any other literature, which was big back then, and also print buying. So a lot of printers back in the day wouldn't deal directly with the end client. So I would put the artwork and the design together and send it to printer. And so there'd be it was quite a nice chunk of business actually, was print buying. So I'd manage that process for customers. So I'd do the design, get the production done, and then obviously put a markup on the printing as well. So that's really what got me going.
Right. Okay. And then you moved fairly swiftly into digital. Is that right?
Yeah, so the website side of things, I started learning when I was at the an agency. So back in the sort of like late 90s. So when I started my business, we were still on modems back then, and most people that had a connection to the internet, it was a 56K connection. I thought I was really kind of ahead of the era because I had ISDN, which was two lines of 64. So that was like the fastest connection. But I started building websites back then, well before WordPress was even about.
Wow.
And it was done in table format in Dreamweaver. So it was very, very early days before content management systems came about.
Wow.
But of
That
course, because the connections were so slow, there was very little you could do really.
I have to say I remember those days. I can't say I remember them with fondness at the speed of transmission, but yeah, those were exciting times. What made you start the business in the first place?
Uh, Interestingly, my parents always ran their own business, and we've always been quite an entrepreneurial family. I always wanted to work for myself. But when I spoke to my parents about, what I was going to do when I left university, to start your own business with no experience working in a company, they suggested that I, try to get a job first, which I did. So I worked for a few agencies for about 5 or 6 years. And then I was made redundant. Just about 2 days before Christmas, I was made redundant, and I'd already started to sort of feel that the company was struggling. And they ended up sort of really going into well, that part of the company, the graphic design part, just never took off. So I thought, I could do this for myself. So I asked around a few contacts and people that I'd come into contact with what advice they'd give me. And quite a few of them who'd met me and got to know me said, we'd love to work with you. So I started with one or two customers, and it was the classic kind of like start with your friends and your family and who you know. And I asked around, and I was a rower back then, so I got involved. I knew someone at the rowing club, and I ended up getting a client through them. Then they referred me to Eton College, that were the ones that started up Dorney Lake. So I did all the branding and the work for Dorney Lake, and then the bursar at Eton College, his wife was starting out a venture with the Bridge Clinic over in Maidenhead, and she was going to be the matron.
Right.
So they got me involved with all the branding for that, and I still do the work for them now. So they're my oldest client.
Wow. That's going back some, and that's excellent retention. It's not very often.
Yeah.
Attention to that.
Apparently I'm the only supplier they've never changed.
Oh,
So
wow. That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's a good testimonial, but it's all been word of mouth from the early days. And then after about a year of being on my own, I um came across networking. So it was BRE back then. So I got involved with BRE, and then interestingly, a business coach asked if he could exchange services with me because he needed a new logo and some branding and wanted to offer his coaching services, which personally I wouldn't have considered back then,
Right.
but I did it, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Oh,
So
amazing.
he wrote a book called Get Clients Now.
Right.
And the book and the course that he offered was fantastic, and it changed everything for me.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So
Yeah,
business
so
coaching.
I'm a massive advocate of coaching, because I think a lot of people's issues and stumbling blocks are themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And by having coaching early on in my business, it really helped me to understand what was holding me back.
Yeah. So who creates the problem can't solve the problem is often that's an adage
Yeah.
in coaching. Well, that's fantastic. It's great to hear that. Thank you. What makes you guys stand out in the marketplace? What's your USP?
Well, I would say that first of all, we get into the shoes of our customers. And I know that sounds like, oh, you'd expect every agency to do that. It doesn't always happen when you've got a big agency, because you've got, a creative director that feeds down to the studio manager, that feeds down into the senior designer, that feeds down to the junior designer, and the whole messaging gets lost, and the whole relationship between the designer and the client gets lost. I've always been a massive advocate of the designer dealing directly with the client and really getting into their shoes and understanding their product or their service.
Yeah.
So if I don't understand what a client does, I can't work. I don't feel that I can give them what they really need. And
Yeah.
sometimes that might even be challenging themselves, because I've got to understand their market. So we do quite a lot of research when we take on a new client into their field, trying to understand what it is that they do, what they offer, what the customers want, and also where they want to pitch themselves. So but a lot of that over 24 years becomes quite easy.
Yeah.
It's a process that for me comes quite easily and is always something that I do and can do quite quickly.
Yeah. 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 Do you have any affinity with any particular sectors specifically?
Yeah, so before I started my business, I worked in an agency where we did a lot of work in the life sciences sector. And then when I first started my business, I did some freelance as well for an agency in Beaconsfield, and they only dealt with pharmaceutical clients. So I did a lot of work in that sector, and it was very specific the way that they wanted you to work. And I've got a very unusual combination of creativity with a sort of scientific and mathematical brain. So
Mhm.
if I would understand what it is they're doing and how their product or their drug or their offering worked, and then be able to really understand when things were presented in the right or the wrong way. So yeah, a lot of the work we do is in the life sciences sector, even though we help very small businesses as well.
It's very unusual to have that balance of creative and logic in one place. Do you, is that something that you have that you've built around with the team, or do you have the team a bit more split in what they deliver for clients?
I would say that this is more a personal
Right.
thing. So my first employer said to me, or my first main employer said to me, it's very unusual to have somebody who's so creative but also very good with mathematics, which you have to be when you're building a website or you're creating something that needs to be pixel perfect, as I call it.
Yeah.
And because of the way that I work, I'm very hard on the people that work for me in the way that they work. So we are very precise. Everything has to be evenly spaced and balanced, and I think I drive them nuts sometimes, but that's what we do. You know,
Yeah.
everything has to be right.
Yeah.
Um, and it's attention to detail. I mean, of course, we're all human and everybody makes mistakes, but it's about putting processes in place to eliminate that.
Right. Okay. And would it be correct to say that it's not just the standard marketing services that you do? You also help businesses with a bit of business development, or looking at things a little bit differently. Is that right?
Yeah, I think over 24 years of seeing businesses struggle and seeing businesses thrive, I've built up a really good understanding of what can work and what can't work and what people's kind of threats are. So, you know, I mean, obviously, if you've worked in corporate or you've worked with big customers and you do the SWOT report, that's the process that I go through with all my clients, whether it's, you know, subconsciously for them or whether it's something that we, you know, purposely put forward to them. So one of the things that we always look at is the threat that they've got from either competition, the market, or, you know, technological advances.
Mm.
So, for example, when we went through COVID, I knew that certain customers were going to struggle because their business would have been wiped out. So I was proactive in giving them some ideas of how their business could continue through difficult times. And it's win-win really, because they've managed to keep their business going and we've managed to keep their business.
Yeah. Yeah. And having gone through several financial shocks, I bet you not only is your business proven to be resilient, but it gives you a different mindset, doesn't it? It's
100%. It's life is about change, and as soon as you grasp that, you don't go into shock, you go into opportunity knocks.
yeah.
And COVID for me was an opportunity. It was an opportunity to help businesses get online, and it was an opportunity for us to build our business by helping other people get online.
Wow.
And it's another win-win. And one of the biggest threats to our sector, or you could see it as an opportunity, is AI. And that's one of the things that we're now really embracing. So AI will never replace the human brain, but what it will do is cut down on time and cut down on processes. So we're constantly looking at opportunities to embrace AI and give and present it to our clients as a value added.
Yeah. That's really good. Do you see that as being fueling growth for your business as well? Or because it's presumably 24 years consistent growth, would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been very slow but consistent. I'm not a risk taker.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to grow my business. I never wanted to be based in London. I didn't want to have massive overheads.
Yeah.
We've got 2 cabins in the garden that are purpose built for the business. So I've got a small team that are based here. They've got a really nice environment that they work in. Clients can come and see us, and it's a very professional but also very relaxed environment that they feel very comfortable in. It's completely separate to the house, which is great. And yeah, it's all for us, it's all about it's about being flexible and agile and not tied down.
Yeah. Yeah. Large overheads in central London offices is something that most agencies kind of move towards. They seem
Mm.
to really want that. But I think after COVID, a lot of mindset has changed around that.
Yeah.
Have you, with regards to your growth goals, are you still looking to develop the business further? Are you still looking to grow it, or are you happy just with kind of marginal gains?
Yeah, I think, well, I know that we're still growing the business, and each year the turnover is steadily increasing. That said, I'm not looking to grow it from the point of view of taking on more staff and more overheads. I like to keep things simple, and I like to keep things at a point where I can expand when I need to. We're very flexible. I've got 2 full-time staff, 1 part-time, and then 2 freelancers that have regular hours every week.
Right.
One of those freelancers has worked with me for a long time. but it's all about being flexible and agile so that we can expand and contract when we need to. And that gives customers peace of mind, because there's not many web agencies that have been going for 24 years, and it's also, to spread our work across hundreds of clients means that if we lose one, it's not going to affect
Yeah.
people's, I'm not going to have to lay people off or anything like that. Obviously we've got some bigger clients than others, but they come and go.
Yeah.
And it's all about not having all our eggs in one basket and
Yeah.
being able to sort of support clients long term.
Yeah.
We always look to build relationships long term. We're not here for the short game. And I think that's probably why I've been in business for so long, is because people know that we can be trusted, we're reliable, and we sort of deliver consistently.
Well, I think retaining one client for 24 years isn't far off a world record, Holly. So you're showing that the consistent and consistent quality with good services just keeps clients, which is what I think a lot of people forget. They kind of, a lot of businesses go for the buck rather than the long-term view.
Don't get me wrong. Honestly, I can't tell you, Matt, when I hear how much other agencies charge for a like service, it never ceases to amaze me how much they can get away with charging and how much clients will pay. I just don't have it in me to be able to rip people off. I wish I could sometimes, but I'm just not that sort of person. And like I say, I'm in it for the long game.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my employees left and came back. I was kind of more encouraging her to see what was out there, because I think sometimes you have to set that bird free in order for it to come back and want to stay with you.
Yeah.
And when she told me how much one of her previous employers was charging for a website that it was like another zero on the end. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, many agencies will try to charge a premium for the wrapper that they put around their own business, and I wish them all the best for doing that. And if their clients are out there prepared to pay, then so be it. There's a marketplace, clearly. So, but it's not the marketplace that you want to be in, which is
No.
that's
So
that's
we're fair. We're not, at the end of the day, I've got overheads, I've got full-time staff, I've got subscriptions, all our software's licensed, etc.
yeah.
So, I have to charge a certain amount. I'm not the same price as a freelancer. But
No.
I like to think that the people that have worked with us think that we're excellent value for money.
Right. Okay. So is throughout your business journey, so 24 years, is there one thing, is there one person or one book or one video or a quote that has inspired you to do what you do?
I think actually it was one of the directors in BNI, because I've been with BNI now for over 10 years, and I've been networking for 23 years.
Wow. Okay.
And one of the quotes that one of the directors of BNI said was, "The way you do something's the way you do everything." And that's resonated with me for years, because the way that we present to a client, the way that we answer a question, the way that we deal with a problem is the way that they perceive us to be for everything.
Yeah.
And I always believe that it's not what you do, it's how you fix a problem and how you resolve an issue
Yeah.
that gives you your reputation and your reliability.
Yeah.
And I think that quote, I always think the way that I speak to people, the way that we negotiate, the way that we try and sort a problem out,
Yeah.
the way that we present ourselves on our website with our branding, etc. That's the perception that people have of us and how we do everything. And I think in life as well, that is so true. So I think that's the one quote that I would say has probably helped me long term, is to think, am I doing something that is going to, ruin my reputation or build confidence and trust? And it's getting the right answer.
That's the thing that's landed. That's really cool. Really like
Yeah.
that. Really like that. So if you we're going to start again, Holly. You rewind 24 years. Is there one thing you would do differently?
I would start with a subscription-based business earlier on.
Right.
So we've been working on that basis for coming up to maybe 10 years now, 8 to 10 years. Prior to that, I was focused on the price for a job,
Yeah.
and the kind of big fee, the big upfront fee. But actually, for me, I've built my business now on the basis that, sorry, Matt, the doorbell's just gone. Can we just pause for a second?
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me just.
So, Holly, if you could restart, if you're going to restart your business, if you could go back 24 years and you were going to redo the business, what would you do differently?
So I think the one thing that I would do earlier on in my business is have a subscription-based business. So for the last 8 to 10 years, we've focused on the long-term relationships with our web clients. So we provide hosting and support for them on a monthly basis. They're not tied into a long contract. They can leave us at any point, but that small fee a month for hundreds of clients starts to build up.
Yeah.
And it gives me stability with the business and gives me peace of mind that I can pay my employees every month and not have to worry.
Yeah.
Because there's always that maintenance work that they've got there to do.
Yeah.
And with anything, it's about replacing clients as they leave. They
Yeah.
might retire, they might, pass down their business, or, go bust or sell it, so we've always got to replenish the clients.
Yeah.
So I think that model of business is so important for longevity.
Yeah. It's there's a real thing with subscription-based businesses having far, far higher peer group multiples when it comes to exit for founders.
Yeah.
Or for business valuation, full stop. And moving towards subscription services has happened across the board. I'm surprised that more agencies don't do it. I guess the old-fashioned version would be the retainer, but
Yeah.
it's not
We
quite the
do
same.
have some clients on retainers, but we don't like to tie them down. I mean, some of the bigger organizations that we do work for, they pay for an extra hour a month of support, and we roll that over. And at the end of the year, if they don't feel they've got value, we can either reduce down the time we offer, or, cease it. But we'll always give them that time back. We're not there to kind of like rip them off. That's not our model, but it's all I would like, and all I've aimed to do is have that security of income, and ensure that the clients get the value from that time that they're paying us for.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, so what's the biggest challenge you're facing at the moment then, Holly?
Good question. I would say we're in the process of exploring and embracing AI. What we don't want to do is for it to replace our creativity and the customer service that our clients are used to, and that we've got a reputation for. However, I believe that if we don't embrace it, it's like any technology, we could get left behind. And that's always been my aim, is to keep up with technology, which we have. I mean, it took me 10 years before I switched over to WordPress when it first came out, because I was really concerned about the bugs, the security issues, etc.
Yeah.
And the way that I've always put processes in place to, ensure that those things don't happen to our clients, or are absolutely minimalized. And with AI, again, it's another area where Google are kind of very up on AI generated content, and it can now distinguish the difference between genuine content and AI generated content. So
Yes.
we will use it to an extent, but we will also put in the human factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a case of making sure that we're being very efficient with our time, but without the clients losing the human element
Yeah.
and the expertise that we've got.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. AI not currently in the position to replace us, and does show many benefits for many businesses. It's I think there's a bit of fear factor with all new technologies. So yeah, let's all keep an eye on that. What have you got any plans you'd like to share? What the business is currently doing? Have you got any new products you're launching? Have you got what exciting times have you got ahead of you?
We've just teamed up with an AI developer actually, who we're working with on, so that clients, obviously you're used to chatbots on websites, but he's developed some really clever AI and chatbot integration. And because we've got quite a lot of scientific and life science based businesses that we work for, their product is so niche and so specific that it's when a client goes on their website, you know, they want to know they've got some very, very technical questions, and this IA software can be built bespoke for that particular product and client in a way that will, you know, could almost sell their product without a human initial consultation. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like pre-consultation software. So we're excited about that because it's going to give us an opportunity to add value to those clients, and also give them ideas that they don't know about.
yeah,
So that's really important. So that's quite exciting.
yeah,
And also we're looking at ways of trying to reduce some of the processes that we go through when we build a bespoke site, so that we can still oversee it personally, but maybe try and engage and utilize AI to cut down on the man hours.
yeah. So it's more about efficiencies rather than replacing the human edge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Using it as a tool rather than as a replacement.
brilliant. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that's absolutely fascinating. I'm really interested to see how the business develops, particularly with marrying creativity and AI up together, because I think there's a lot of tension in the creative industries, a lot of resistance to AI, which I can understand.
Mm,
At the same time, it's here, it's around us. The genie is out of the bottle already. It's
mm.
about implementing, and it looks like you've really embraced that. So that's absolutely fantastic. It's great to hear your growth journey. It's absolutely fantastic to hear 24 years with one client. I've got to say, there's got to be a record. But in the creative industries, that is absolutely phenomenal. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you today, Holly. I wish you every success in the future with your business, and you're going to keep going. You 24 years in one place. It's phenomenal.
Thank you, Matt.
I you're my hero. So thank you so much, Holly. It's been a real pleasure. Let's keep in contact and let's keep up soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Holly.